I sent around some minutes a couple weeks ago. If you read them, do you have any questions or changes or comments? I'll
I
entertain
read them.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded for approval of the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes have been approved unanimously. Thank you. Before we get started on what I wanted to try to accomplish tonight, give folks an update. At our last meeting, a question was raised about whether we were gonna have any other source of public input for creating the update to the open space recreation plan. And we had been intending on using the, in addition to this meeting and the input from this meeting, input from the town's master plan survey. But the way these open space plans work, once we get it written and everything, and it's been stamped by everybody in town here, all the committees and the select board, we send it off to DCR, and they supposedly read it and come back with comments, suggestions, etc. And we ran into that last year where there were some areas where we were remiss in not including them, so we had to do a revision and get that done. So to try to forestall that in case this wasn't considered public input enough, plus our master plan, I contacted Melissa Cryan, who is the lady at DRC who reads and grants, reads the grants and gets them approved. Also gets open space plans approved. And she's a very nice lady, and she's, anytime you need anything from DCR, she's a good resource to have. Anyway, we talked about it a little bit. I explained to her what we were doing and what we plan to use, and noted that in other open space plans we'd read that, public input was sometimes a question mark. But I wanted to get her take on it before we wrote the thing. And her take was that they don't feel they meaning the people up there that approve open space plans, don't feel that the input on the master plan, for master plans, town master plans, on the subject of open space and recreation is specific enough. It's a broader survey, and they like to see more pointed commentary from the public. So with that said, and we talked about this last time, and Katie had a great idea, and
But we talked about that, that was at the actual open space meeting, not this meeting.
oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Okay,
just
sorry.
because a couple of people, I don't think.
At our open
At least
space meeting, Katie is the select board liaison for open space, probably among others.
Yeah,
I mentioned that at our meeting, and she suggested something that she's done in the past, which is a Google survey, and so we talked about that at the open space meeting, and I mentioned that to that method of getting public input with to Melissa Cryan, and she thought that would be a great idea as a way to do it. The only other option is having a town meeting. Number of reasons that probably isn't a good idea considering the time of year we're working with here. And I think people are more likely to comment and provide input if they're not standing up in front of 50 or 100 or whatever people would attend a public meeting and speaking. So that's what we're going to do. So in addition to this meeting and the input we get from that, we're going to conduct a survey online and post it around town so that everybody has an opportunity to at least be aware of it, and hopefully we'll get a lot of response to that.
We may have a Survey Monkey subscription as well. I'm unsure of that, but
no, we always used Google. Yep.
So how would that go out, or how would people
like
know
a
that it
link.
was out there?
It's a link, so you can put it on the town website, you can
Okay.
put it on all the social medias, you can email blast it out, and
Okay.
you can put it on the electronic board, like the, cultural council said, see town website for
Okay.
it.
So those interested parties might take a survey.
Click the link.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll give
But
some,
all I can do, I mean.
provide
we have
hard
to-
copies to the senior center for people that walk in there, cause you could do it with, paper and pencil too. Katie's suggestion was, keep it brief, cause people don't wanna go through
Right, definitely.
40 questions.
Because you then you could sort through another 300-400 esoteric inputs from various people of all nature,
Yeah.
like just to confuse the issue, When you look at these things right here, it's like, how do you make sense of even these things right here?
Well, that's what we're gonna do tonight.
No, I'm saying, and it's like, everything gains state stalking game birds to
Oh, yeah,
better cell reception.
Yep.
Those aren't like the same kind of thing. Better cell reception.
Yeah.
What's that got to do with open space?
well,
An example.
that's what I thought, and Susan said, well, cell reception's really poor at our conservation areas and other
That's
places in
great.
town.
It should be
So-
non-existent. It'd be even better.
Yeah.
That's
Well, not
like
if you're
totally
lost.
ludicrous.
Not
Like
if you're
Not if
lost.
you're lost.
and having a heart attack.
And
Yeah,
all our
it's
new,
suppose-
like,
I suppose it's true.
getting
Oh.
attacked by a bear.
all of our new maps at Mount Jeff have an OCR code on them. You can
God,
take a picture of those, and you could find out where you were that way.
I suppose.
So
You're talking,
anyway,
I'm in the wrong place here. I gotta go back to
We'll
the
get
farm
there.
and get on my farm all. Go back in time.
No,
Just
it's-
telling you right now.
Everything's moving forward. You
Yeah.
gotta
I
come
know,
with
it's
us.
you
You don't have to like it.
you entered the 21st century when you walked through the door. Although we're going to be doing this the old-fashioned way.
Okay, I'll try to
What did you print that out on?
try to.
Now that I'm thinking of it.
A lot of notes you can take around the margins there.
Anyway.
That came out of the computer.
So that's the update on whether or not we're going to get public input.
Okay.
So, moving on, we didn't quite get everything done last meeting we wanted to do. So I'd like to spend 5 minutes doing that. And Rick's got the list there in front of him. You folks all have the results of our brainstorming exercise. And what we did was we took that list, I consolidated it because there was a lot of duplicate things that people mentioned. And I assigned a category to them. Rightly or wrongly, some of them actually can be in more than one category. And as I'll explain in a minute, there's a lot of interconnection. So to your point, Rick, yeah, some of these things could be related and some of them might not.
Right. Right.
At any rate,
A passionate community. I like that one. I think we should embrace that.
Rick, this list is sorted alphabetically by category,
yes and no.
so that's why economic development is first and,
Oh, yes, the categories are alphabetic.
yeah.
So you'll see there the number of times that that particular idea was mentioned in our brainstorming session, and also the number of red dots it got. Rick, what we did was, when we had this list of 67 items, we posted them all up around the room, and everybody had red dots, and we said, pick the 5 that you think are most important. We didn't say pick the ones that are most important because we'd have red dots everywhere, because these ideas were all important.
Yeah.
Right. So
Somebody brought them up.
so what you see there is, a visual of the ones that people, the 10 people that were here felt were in their top 5 most important of this 67 items. There's only, I don't know, there's only about 60 items left because I combined and everything. So that's what you're looking at. First question is, after thinking about it since the last 2 weeks, I know you spent a lot of time doing that. Anything you think we missed? And The other question about this list is, can we remove anything? Because what we're trying to do now is get down to things that we can set open space and recreation plan goals for. And some of these things, you know, these are good ideas, but they might not, you know, be appropriate for an open space and
Right, it
recreation.
had nothing to do with open space.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, most of like the second page
Yeah.
doesn't really have too much to do with open space, other than, you know, like better Wi-Fi, but that, it wouldn't necessarily be on open space, so that's not open space's
Right.
problem, you know? And keeping
No.
the town
Main-
rural character is part of, you know, that is open space, that's,
Right.
you know what I mean?
well, maintaining rows, you know.
Yeah.
A true sit-down restaurant, it's got nothing to do with
Yeah,
open
no.
space.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
unless you're thinking of having
Well,
taking it out and going and having a picnic at Mount Shep.
Well, that would,
actually, let's talk about that a second then.
Ecotourism.
Yes.
yeah,
A
So-
true sit-down restaurant. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, you
if
come
people,
out,
if you wanna come out to hike, and we've,
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
when I'm out there riding or whatever, and people ask, I get asked by people from out of
where do I
town,
go eat?
where can I go to
Yeah.
eat?
Yeah.
You know,
That's true.
and,
The answer is,
and
Good
the
one,
diner's
yeah.
only open, you know, part of the day, so,
yeah. I see what you're saying. So,
Giacomo's has sandwiches, but otherwise they have to drive to Gardner or down to Holden, so.
there's a Pizza Palace too, don't forget the Pizza Palace.
Right, I shouldn't, I'm there a lot.
Yeah.
So, that's, again, to your point, some of these
I
things
see.
are interrelated.
yeah.
You know, ATV trail, park. So take a quick read, fire off what you think is, could be removed.
I agree with you, page 2.
Yeah, I understand it needs, like, they tie in page 2, but a lot of it is,
Not direct.
Yeah.
Sand pit resolution under the
Mhm.
category has been placed under, that's an open space issue.
Yeah,
Depends who you ask.
yeah,
I'd like to see that solved as not an open space issue.
What, yeah,
Well,
Mike, can you say more about that?
yeah, well, the thing is that right now it is just there and can't be fully utilized. Because really, technically, I don't think we're supposed to have people out there if it's a contaminated site. Now, just passively walking around is usually not an issue for, it's the lead thing, the old police.
well, most of it's
range.
privately owned though.
yeah,
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is not public.
yeah, that's,
Oh, so that's a
property.
different sand pit than the,
Well, the town owns a little
oh,
piece.
okay.
It's kind of the
Most,
entrance.
the bulk of it is not the town's,
Interesting. The town owns the one
just a
with the
little,
solar panels on it? Or
No.
No.
We own the part that has the lead.
yeah, we own the
contamination,
yucky
right?
part,
I see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
and it's very small in the front.
I see.
Browns and Marinelli's own the
Yeah.
bulk of that, on
So
that
then-
side.
So
and
then
Graves
what's,
on the other side.
I guess I'm not familiar enough with the rest of it. If that's not the issue, then what's the issue with the sand pit that's private?
That it's a not reclaimed vast tract of land that's not being used. It's being, the grades are very steep,
So is there
because
an erosion issue?
there's that, it's also
Danger.
a danger, because it invites people.
But it's private.
It doesn't matter, it invites people to go riding their dirt bikes that aren't supposed to be there, like what happened a couple weeks ago.
Then this is or isn't not an open space issue. Seems like one to me.
It's not an open space issue, it's more of,
It's a development
A
issue.
Yeah.
security
development
issue?
Yeah.
it's
one of,
they
one
don't
of
want it.
Christopher's ideas that he is on here actually. I think it's under town, on the second page. Hybrid low-income residential open space development. We need
the senior
low-income housing, senior or otherwise low income. If that could be developed and at the same time create more open space there on the same land.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That was one of his ideas.
That's been put out at several meetings.
The owners, at least one of the owners is trying to sell.
Hmm.
I think the other one is as well, but
The Marinelli property is
Is.
posted.
Yes.
Like, it's on the web, we've talked to their real estate agent about what they're interested in looking for.
And
Just,
someone
just
was-
to know,
yeah.
like, there's no, obviously nothing we can jump at this time, but just to be aware of what's going on.
Cause the Brown side, basically, they took too much out, and it's too low, and the Marinellis have some left if they work together, or whomever buys the land works together, cause I don't think either of the parties that own it wanna deal with it, they just wanna sell and move on.
And let somebody else deal with it.
Yes, but it has to be reclaimed, because the grades are too high, there's also been some dumping
Similar
out
to
there.
the clay pit.
Yeah, yes. Just
Similar.
The clay pit, I don't believe was quite as detrimental on
No, but I
the
mean,
slopes
it's, they have an obligation to restore it,
of some sort.
just like
yes.
the owner of the
all the
clay
pits.
pit.
Yeah.
All the pits,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, all pits have to be, and there's a bylaw or whatever, the rules to be reclaimed. So,
You don't have to know if the private parcels are in chapter, are they?
I
Can
have no
they-
idea.
I don't
They
think they
be-
are,
No,
I don't
no,
They
believe
wouldn't
so.
be, but, I mean, or they
actually, yeah,
Might
that's
not
right,
be.
they wouldn't qualify.
wouldn't call, okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, getting back to our, ideas here. As you scan it, just scan quickly, and if you see anything that you don't think belongs here, let's talk about it or remove it.
Local sawmill, what is it, idea on the local sawmill? Why?
That was mine. It's not necessarily an open space thing. The question was, what would you like to see if you returned
yes, okay.
that would still be here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that kind of goes with the rural community, the type of business or industry that is kind of compatible and fits in with our
Okay.
existing.
Yeah, we didn't, on purpose, we didn't limit the ideas.
Right,
we want
but
to-
as far as open space, it's really an open space thing?
No,
No.
Yeah.
not anything that's necessarily gonna be in the plan as an individual item. I mean, we're not gonna list all these
Okay,
ideas.
I'm-
What we're gonna get to right now is what do all these ideas that people generated, which if we do a survey, and judging from the past surveys we've had, I think we've covered pretty much everything that any survey would cover in finding out what people want from the town. But at any rate,
Seeing that was the one I brought up, it can easily be eliminated right now because the way the question was posed.
right, I understand.
And
So I was just
we're trying to narrow it
come up
down,
with, to
just
Yeah.
cross it out.
cross
Easy.
it out.
Yep.
Whatever, brewery, winery, those are kind of an agritourism thing potentially.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
doctor's
Pickleball
office,
at
I don't know what
ATV
the doctor's
park.
office is for. The
The
doctor's
ATV
office.
park, we already kind of eliminated that
Yeah.
last time, cause it's, for recreation,
Yeah.
tennis courts and pickleball courts.
Yeah, I don't think those would really, that doesn't have, that's recreation, it's not open space recreation.
The-
Well, it is if you put it at the Curtis Rec Field,
Actually, that is part of the
open space.
open space and
I
recreation,
did not know that.
Yeah.
for the purpose of the
Okay.
plan, are
Mhm.
all encompassing.
Yeah.
Could be any kind of recreation, so.
So, under economic development, heavy industry to help expand the tax base, get rid of that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
doesn't have anything to do.
It might be
Um,
easier to pick the ones you want to keep, the
Well,
big ones.
We're, just
Mm.
bear with me.
Okay.
I'm just trying to narrow down things that we don't need to talk about.
Okay. Doctor's office.
Right, doctor's
Yeah,
office.
doctor's office,
Don't need
can
that.
go, yeah.
One indirect way that all these things that we're talking about do relate to open space is they're forms of economic development which could add to the tax base and, provide, with the tax revenue would help the town to support, open space conservation. Whether it's maintaining the land that we already own or acquiring other land in order to have the connected trails that,
Yeah.
people wanna see.
No, that's true.
Yeah, but, you know, it's, you got a tick on you?
Wow, he's crawling across the table. I've been getting rid of, I had like 30 on me on
Oh, is that all?
Saturday or Sunday.
I had two
I was
biting me in
alluding-
February this year.
Okay, anybody see anything else that,
Right here.
the Riata Ranch Flea Market, you know, we don't have any control over that.
Can sequester it.
Yes.
Um,
Put him in a little money grab.
That's right. We,
Okay, all right.
More volunteers. Yes.
I'm sorry, what did you say there?
I'm gonna make a pitch to everybody that volunteered for the public safety building that you're not gonna be able to.
Yeah, no kidding.
We could build it like they did in the old days, right? Post and beam and have everybody show up for a barn raising.
Well, that's how the building got built, fire station, it with the cement bricks, the town pretty much people.
Is that right? I didn't know
To
that.
my knowledge, that's how it got kinda built.
Okay. Couple observations when I was kinda sorting through these and combining and everything. And Tim just made the point a little bit, but just more importantly, is you see that the highest rated items for the most part are in economic development, which, had a number of ideas about it, and a lot of the ones that are in other areas, also have to do with economic development. But economic development had the most stars, had 12 stars for it. Next one was recreation, then town facilities and infrastructure related. In order how many people felt that they were one of their 5 most important. But if you count up all those stars, there's like 44. I don't know how come we only had 44 stars and we had
Some people didn't put all the stars.
some people did. Everybody had 5 stars, so anyway.
I would've taken theirs.
But of those, if you were to go through this list and look at each of the items, 22 of them are dependent somewhat on having open space land resources. So even though land habitat and resource conservation wasn't one of the higher scores, 22 of these items on the list that were rated by people as their 5 most important are dependent upon that particular category. So that was one observation, and then the other observation has to do with that interdependency. Well, one of the ones that was had no idea about, it never occurred to me. Somebody brought up, and it's on the list for town infrastructure, total town center sewage solution, right? What does that have to do with open space? Well, if you want businesses to come into town to support the ecotourism thing, they gotta be able to have the infrastructure to support them, and right now, the sewer system apparently wouldn't support it, right? Is that-
Well, there is no sewer system.
Right, exactly. But
So-
you gotta stop somewhere,
Yeah, no, I
you know, 'cause
understand.
that's getting a sewer system in Hubbardston, you might as well, you know.
Well,
It's
In-
doable, it's just not
Not in
cheap
anyone's
or easy.
million years of lifetimes.
Well, yeah,
You know,
it's just,
well,
yeah,
so it might, but
an
it,
uphill
it's a
battle.
As a
great idea,
result-
but it's uphill battle.
It's
Are you
uphill
kidding me?
battle.
but it might impact
Yeah,
our
no.
ability to get
It-
businesses.
No, it's true.
So,
Well, it will impact,
Yeah.
because a lot of the restaurants, it's very difficult to run a restaurant, or, not that it's not doable, because there are restaurants, there's breweries, there's all kinds of stuff that they run on without
Right.
water and sewer.
Yeah.
But the problem is the main street, the grounds are kind of not good for sewage.
Right.
So I guess it's becoming a problem, so if the houses were to turn into something like, say, a bed and
pub
breakfast or something,
something,
yeah.
yeah.
Their sewage, their septic wouldn't necessarily be able to sustain that, and there's the ground, you can't really like dig it up and put a new, you have, there's a lot of maintenance and
Yeah, it
fixing.
Right, right,
it
it
Yeah.
wouldn't meet code.
It doesn't
Yeah,
work very
it
well up
wouldn't-
here.
Yes,
The
exactly.
health department would have something to say.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interrelation if you go through this list, is the point is,
But
So-
we are only mortals that were trying to put a plan together.
Mhm.
So, for the next 5 years or something. So we can only think so big. Right? Or you'll never get this job done.
I don't know why you can't think big.
I can think it's big. I can
And I
think
do
big.
think you're gonna learn a tremendous amount from the outside survey, because one thing everybody sitting at that table 2 weeks ago had in common was they were really dedicated volunteers. So they knew what they were talking about, and they knew what the kind of wants and needs of the community from an administration and volunteer standpoint are. I think you're gonna get a lot of different input from the general public that will be able to add directly to these great points.
Yeah, that don't necessarily know the problems that inhibit some of these ideas, and also what they actually want, because they might have a whole different idea path. Like, I really want, I'd love to.
Interesting.
Oh, whenever you put something out there to the
It's
public, you
interesting
get some wild stuff back.
because-
I'm like, okay, I never even thought of that.
Okay.
And for everyone that's gonna say, build a casino,
Yes.
there's gonna be one
Right.
that's gonna be
Yeah.
really worth its weight.
Yeah,
Right, I believe that part.
yeah,
It's like, is Rick
There's
Jones a
always
real
some good-
person?
yeah. It's always some good stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, with all these great ideas, what we wanna try to do is distill it down into some main concepts that represent what, from those ideas, what we want Hubbardston to be. One of the requirements of the open space plan is to have a vision statement of sorts. But the real reason for that is, when you set goals, you wanna know what your reason is for doing those, and that vision statement needs to speak to that. So, question, key takeaways, what do we want Hubbardston to look like?
Utilize open space as an economic driver.
Rick, that marker's not gonna bleed through, is it?
Ooh,
Maybe
yeah.
be there permanently. This is why we can't have nice things, people.
Well, I didn't wanna do death by PowerPoint, so
Yeah. Oh, that's fine.
hopefully everybody can see.
Yeah.
One of the staff already put a toaster right there. Please don't
Yeah.
write on the wall.
This is
I know we got
funny.
English muffins, a toaster.
See, this is our only meeting room in the whole world right
I
here.
know,
We
welcome
can't
to
mess it up.
Hubbardston. Come on.
So this
It's a
is
small
some
town
of the
environment.
constraints we
I
might
know.
have.
It's meeting room, it's lunch
Our
room.
break
it's
room is in
look
that
at it.
closet.
Yeah.
This is
Alright, so,
Okay.
some of the constraints
So,
we might have.
Say that again.
But we're all
open
set.
space
Think
will
big.
utilize-
Let's just think
Utilize open space as an
Open
economic driver.
space.
We can think big. Why can't you?
I'm trying.
You gotta
I have a great
expand.
imagination. Believe me.
See, I see, yeah, because my vision is we start utilizing our open space in our farms to be our economic driver, because that's what we have.
Yep.
So why not encourage that growth? With that growth will come along smaller sub-businesses, like maybe a tour guide, maybe a bed and breakfast, maybe a, like all these little nichey, little things that will go along with this,
and that was well said, Nate, because if you look at the top category, economic development,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. That's reasonable.
that kinda describes that whole section. All of those things are related to having open space.
That seems
And then
realistic.
the other things will maintain and build upon open space inventory.
That sounds too technical.
Yeah.
You gotta make it sound
Gotta get a better
zhuzhier.
word.
Zhuzhier.
Areas.
Yeah,
Zhuzhier.
whatever, we can go with that.
Yeah, I know. It's the words are there, it's just, yeah. Put it all together in a nice.
In the next
statement.
section there, land habitat and resource conservation, that's one of the more conserved land. Right? Okay, we got one, we need some more.
Need some more keywords.
No, yeah.
I
keywords.
suggest looking at this page to try to figure out how to word these
Keywords.
words.
Yeah.
Like,
We're not worried about the
Yeah.
wording, we'll do that when we actually write the document. Right now, we just wanna get what you guys think are the big concepts that are expressed in these 60 ideas.
Preserve farmland.
yeah, preserve
I
and
think, yeah,
maintain.
Yeah.
preserve the
Open.
rural
Protect and
character.
improve, maintain
farm
and improve.
Yeah. Protect and preserve. Protect, preserve, and maintain
Yep.
all the above. Our farms and open space. And use it as a driver for economic growth.
That's already
For
there.
the
That's-
for the prosperity of Hubbardston. Try to put it in a sentence.
For the improved mental
Don't
health
need a
of the
sentence.
world.
Oh, mental health is, well, that's another thing. Being outside, doing outside things is very good for one's mental health. And more people need to go outside,
No,
put
they
down the
definitely-
screen and go outside.
Definitely go outside and do
Yep.
something.
Yep, pick, plant some flowers, go take a hike,
You
you know.
can't. There's a hard freeze tonight.
Well, no, you could.
What?
Yeah,
That's
there
what
is.
they
I gotta
said.
bring in my
No
flowers.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Another one.
What did you say?
Hard freeze tonight.
Hard freeze tonight.
Are you kidding me?
No,
This weather is like crazy.
yeah,
Versus 90, then it's hard freeze. Hard
Yeah.
freeze.
yeah,
That's a funny one.
yeah. So you
Thank
gotta
you.
cover up your
Alright.
stuff.
I got,
My-
I got an alert
I got
about
it.
it this afternoon.
Hay growing like this high
Mm.
already.
How about concept around recreation? Both passive and active, we had a ton of those
Yeah.
ideas, right? Interconnected trails, et cetera, how do we
Tie that
distill
in.
that? Do you think?
To encourage usage, encourage.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I'm
You're
throwing out
good.
what like encourage
Throw it out.
usage. I'm trying. Hold on. It's still computing in my head. Encourage use of outdoor recreational spaces.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah,
Very matter of
Because
fact.
how many people in town are aware? Even
That we ha-
simplistic.
How many trails we
Right.
have.
How many people, and
Yeah,
probably
Yeah.
disturbingly few people know anything about it.
say that again, cause it was well said.
Oh shit.
Right, right.
Encourage use.
Rewind the tape.
I agree.
Encourage
The
usage
average
of
guy
our.
you talk to would
What did
know
I say?
that they
land for
could go at
recreation.
Mount
Yeah,
Jeff and wander
outdoor
around or do something or
Recreation
have a picnic or
of our.
they would don't even
I
wouldn't
take
occur to
Yeah,
them.
land for outdoor. For,
Yeah, we-
something to that.
So-
It's on video. So
Yeah, well,
So-
and I do go back and
Okay.
look, so.
worst comes to worst, it's on video.
I saw
Whatever I
Joyce
said.
and some
Okay.
pictures that Jane McCauley had last night.
Like squirrel, we
Speaking of
started talking about
places.
something else.
The boundary survey
Okay.
and the grist mill down there.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Town Administrator,
Yes.
and anybody else can chime in. Some of the things that were under town administration, that were mentioned as things that we needed, how would you distill some of those things?
Increased partnership with our state partners on funding shared open space. Basically, the pilot programs, we should be getting more money. What we get is fair, but it's not breaking the bank by any means. So by increasing the partnership with our state partners, we'll be able to utilize the additional tax revenue to invest in our other open space versus stuff that we can't touch with a 10-foot pole.
I mean, one of the unstated ideas in a lot of these, the interrelation comes back to budget, right? Budgetary constraints, and
And with that, it's hard because you can't ask the state for a grant to help you go and ask the state to change their own funding formulas
Yeah, you
to.
can. They won't know. They're not gonna catch on.
My head is spinning.
So, yeah.
Sorry.
Did you follow the bouncing
No.
ball on that?
I didn't
Okay, so
completely,
basi-
but I There's a lot of things I don't know.
What we're talking about is the dollar amount that we do get money for the state like DCR where we're watershed owns property. We get money for that.
About $400,000 per year.
$375
But
last year.
a lot of us kinda think,
In lieu of
Payment.
potential tax
yeah,
Yes.
we
yes.
might have from
Which is
private ownership.
great, cause at least we get money for it,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it kinda hinders our growth because of the amount of land that the state holds that cannot be developed in
Right,
any way that we
okay.
could get more money for if it was developed of some sort. So the thought process is, we have to hold this land for you and keep this pristine aquifer water drinking source for the city of Boston.
Right.
You expect us to do this, help us by giving us more money for this land
Right.
because it's hindering any kind of growth and sustainability in our
I see
town.
what you're saying.
Are they paying us for the existing Hubbardston tax rate for that amount of land? Do we even know that?
I don't.
No,
It's,
it's
No.
it's
below.
not
But it's
far
not-
off.
It's not
Well, it's-
brutal.
Well, yeah, but
But-
it's undeveloped land, so that
Yeah.
they'd be paying at that rate, but
So-
whatever that
And
is.
there's
Kim,
a
do you know how much land is held by the state and or let's
Chris-
add on
Chris said
Fitchburg?
38
No,
point
Some
something
said
percent.
45%.
Yeah, it's over
It's like
40.
Well,
Oh,
no,
it
but
is
how
over
many
40.
acres? Cause we
Um,
can apply
no,
the tax
let me-
rate.
Let me see if I can
He'll look
figure
it
that
up, but
out.
let's keep,
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't have it.
so,
It's a big number.
attached to
and
the
the
internet.
tax
Yeah.
revenue
There's
is not,
town internet.
it couldn't
There's a-
come close to
hold on.
what.
Well, but Nate's saying
was-
that's
Here, attached
why
to
I
what
think
one?
there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's not far off, but what I'm essentially saying, and what a lot of the people that are making this point is to say, is it's not worth the going rate because it is hindering the town from really striving
that's right.
as a municipality. So it should be worth more than just, oh, we decided to conserve this, or oh, so and so bought that and he doesn't want to do anything on it. This was purposefully maintained for a purpose, and
Well, it
they're
was
making
taken for that purpose. I mean,
Yeah.
we
and
didn't
they're
have any say in
making
it.
Well, and that's
and they're making millions and millions, if not billions, off of that. So
well, the whole thing is that we're we're supplying clean and very clean
Yeah.
drinking water to Boston and its surrounding areas. You can't go to most of the country and find that.
No.
Where there's like
No,
a
right.
clean aquifer that there's
Yeah.
not like you go most of the parts of the country and their water is junk, it's
Horrible.
crap, it's like you don't find that. Yeah. So
You wouldn't
no,
want to drink
but
it.
it's
wouldn't wanna
hurting the
bathe your
towns like
dog
us
in it.
that are maintaining.
and not that I would ever want to see this because it's not my vibe, but if that didn't happen, that would be like a Winnipesaukee or a Lake George or something. So this would all be very, very different. Every town around here would be flourishing.
That's an interesting way of looking at it, yeah. Good point. Good
Yeah.
point.
There would be colleges, there would be businesses, there would be
Lots of vacations
Lots of-
and things
yeah.
like that. Whereas right now
And then the
it
traffic would be horrible.
yeah.
Okay,
wouldn't be horrible.
Boy, my head is spinning worse now
Sorry.
because I see what you're saying. And it's
Yeah.
all true. Instead of where the poor
Yeah.
Hubbardston, it's always been like a poor bastard stepchild.
Well, it's
town.
the quiet little town that
I
nobody
know.
ever heard of because it kind of has to be.
And anytime you want to start a business, absolutely not, or
Yeah.
spend $1, absolutely forget about it. It's not happening.
well, the other thing that happens with pilot funds, and it's actually at probably a state level, you might have heard a lot about it, because the towns in towards Boston have higher tax rates. They tend to get more pilot funds relative to the size of their towns, if
I
not
see.
population, where Western Massachusetts gets very little.
Interesting.
That kind of thing, so.
When in
It's
doubt,
a- it's
Boston always holds the rest of
complicated
us
matter.
hostage.
It is, well,
It
it
is a
is,
complicated matter,
Yeah.
And, so the last section was, the town facilities and infrastructure. The highest rated thing there obviously was the new public safety building. I don't know how we can put that in an open space plan, but if you think of a way, I'm for it.
Make sure that the town has the facilities there to save you when you're
Yeah,
being
that's-
attacked by a bear in the
that's
open
how
space.
that's how you do that.
What's our tax rate now?
13,
Yeah,
something?
13 and
Point
change.
something.
13
Yeah.
and a little bit. It's pretty low when
Yeah.
you consider.
Oh, we're, yeah, on the lower compared to a lot of
I think
the state.
I looked at all the surrounding towns and we were either lowest or next to lowest or
Mhm.
something.
Okay.
Is there any concept we can take from
He's got a number.
infrastructure?
He's got a number. What do you got?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Hubbardston is 42 square miles, that's 26,880 acres. Pretty sure Christopher said 45% of it was owned by the state. That's 12,000 acres. The assessor assesses undeveloped land that could be developed at $3,000 an acre. You look at any parcel that's bigger than a house lot,
Right.
and the additional acreage is about 3,000 an acre, unless it's under chapter 61. At $3,000 an acre, that would be $36 million. Now, that isn't quite right because a lot of the land that the state owns is wetlands. The only way you develop it is with a houseboat and a change in the wetlands there. But if it was all developable and all assessed at $3,000 an acre, that's a $36 million chunk of property. And I'm sorry, what'd you say, the 13?
$13
Yeah,
Yeah,
13%.
13 and
If
per
you-
thousand.
If you use
per
13,
thousand.
that comes out to $472,000.
Oh, so it is pretty
Yeah.
So
good.
Nate is
So,
right.
Well,
'cause
Yeah.
yeah.
It's-
Saying it's pretty close.
And they
half of it is wetlands, you know,
Yeah.
say, so it brings it down.
Yes.
So
So
it's,
maybe we're getting paid
But,
more.
well, the whole
Yeah.
fact is though, you have to look at it as, don't look at it as it's wetlands, look at it as it's your
Filter system.
pristine aquifer that you are supplying a large population of the state, the bulk of the state, with clean drinking water.
Yeah.
When you look at it that way and they charge for water and they charge for this and they charge for that, but the state keeps all the money, we don't get any of that, but we are tasked with keeping that aquifer pristine.
And the way I'm seeing it is a $2 million, let's just to use a round number, just grant or pilot to each of the Quabbin communities to kind of, for that reason, would be a drop in the bucket for the state, drop in the bucket for the water, organization, but it would solve every problem we're all going through.
Yeah.
So it would solve the problem with the school, it would likely solve the problem with the public safety building, so,
Yeah.
but that's all
Yeah,
pipe dreams.
If you if you approach it on a land valuation,
Yeah.
No.
you won't get anywhere. That's
No.
yeah, and I think, I think, DCR restrictions on how land can be used, even that they don't own, has affected Hubbardston. I'm just guessing that, the farm equipment manufacturer that was on 62,
Yeah, Wainwright.
Wainwright.
no,
Yeah.
well,
Wainwright.
no, the
Hub
company
equipment.
that makes bush hogs.
Yeah, well,
Oh.
it's Wainwright or Hub
Okay.
equipment. On
Um,
62.
According to some of the stuff I read, some of the industries had to close down because they were producing pollution that wasn't compatible with drinking water. So even on land that's not owned by DCR.
Oh, that land is owned by DCR now though.
Not all of it.
The one that
Vacant lot
Wainwright,
on Route 62.
the one that, Wainroy, where Wainroy was,
Wainwright.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like tongue twister. I'm pretty sure they took it over a few years ago, didn't they?
Right, but you
Yeah.
know they died commercially.
Well,
they died. They
yeah.
died.
Years
Uh,
ago.
Yes,
Yeah.
when they moved away and
But
was
now
bought
they
out.
have, but now,
But what you're saying is somewhat true as far as what you can do and what you can't do
Mhm.
because of Cohen Bill and stuff. They have the tentacles have gone way out.
Well, to Tim's point, the Watershed Act and the Wetlands Act, doesn't matter who owns it, it applies to all. So any private land
Yeah.
is under some constraints, you know, find just high and dry land here, and you don't in Hubbardston. You
No.
own the best land.
You're right.
All right, any other concepts that we can take away, any other takeaways from this? Those are
thank
some
you.
good,
One of the things is environmental, when I say education and outreach, I don't really see that captured there, and there's a lot of confusion about that. People think they know what things are. I hear a lot of talk about water. I hear a lot of talk about sanitary sewer systems. That was a business that I was in pretty recently. I don't know Massachusetts law. What is it? Chapter 5.
Title five.
I've read enough of it, but I am familiar with some other states. I will absolutely tell you that you can do sanitary sewer systems in much worse conditions than we have here in Hubbardston. It's all a matter of how much you're willing to pay.
That's the thing.
It's not that there aren't solutions. Personally, if you're gonna keep the rural character, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You know, we want the quote-unquote industry. Well, the best industry we could have is like outfitters. Get them hunting and fishing, on the water, you know, that type of industry. You know, a canoe and kayak livery, a mountain bike place. You know, that's you don't need sanitary sewer systems for that. You know,
That's true.
You know, so target the things that don't need the expensive solutions, that don't have a big, when I say footprint, don't have a big water and sanitary sewer footprint. We do have a public sanitary sewer system here for the school.
Yep.
But it's not open. In Ohio, they would make everybody that's along that line connect.
No, they have there's tanks.
Doesn't matter, tanks, that's not a treatment system, that's
Yeah.
a holding system.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
They have
the-
we have a sanitary sewer system at the bottom down by Brigham, just beyond Brigham, across from there's a pump station there, you
Okay,
know?
all right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, no, I hear what you're saying.
pretty-
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And if we look on our own, I've opened it up, but I haven't had time to actually get into it. But it's either under the Conservation Commission or Open Space. There's a document on our website that talks about the feasibility of a public sanitary sewer system. So before we make a lot of comments about that, and this is how people get confused, and they hear something and then they start to take that as, when I say truth, I think there's some good professional effort that has gone into that. I'll read it and then I'll give you comments. Not that I agree with it, I
Some
don't
light
know.
reading at night.
Go ahead, Nate.
I like one of the ideas off Princeton. Promote the appropriate use of Hubbardston's recreational and open space assets. 'Cause if we let other people know that that's there, like, I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys, I'm from Gardner. I'm from the Hubbardston side of Gardner. I didn't know what Mount Jeff was till I started working here.
Right.
Wow.
Like,
Nobody. A lot of people don't know.
so that's a good segue, Nate,
Yeah.
because that's a goal.
And I
What
like,
we're trying to do here is get
Yeah.
a concise idea, okay, what does Hubbardson look like, okay? It looks like, you know, we wanna be in, you know, a agricultural, ecotourism, rural town, you know? That we encourage all these things, that's our statement there. So,
Now we're going into
the
goals.
segue is,
Goals.
I like Nate's verb promote,
Mhm.
because
okay,
Katie said, whatever she said.
so
She
just,
had a different verb, but
Yeah.
it's happy and glad.
Yeah, it's the same, yeah.
It was
same
the
thing.
same
wanna-
thing, but
Can we post the stuff that you wrote down tonight?
Sure. Just put that up to
So
the-
we can refer back to
I
it.
got it. Yeah,
So I just wanna make sure we're framing things right and everybody's on the same page as to goals and objectives, because, you know, it's what's in the name. The way the open space recreation plan workbook, i.e. the people that read this and approve it, et cetera, define that, is, goals versus objectives. Goals are broad concepts, like Nate just had. Objectives are, how we gonna
Specific.
get there,
Yeah.
right? So, we're gonna talk about, that's the main purpose of tonight's meeting is coming up with some goals. Back in my MBA days, Peter Drucker, Management by Objectives, George, what's his last name, Doran, called them SMART goals. And for the purposes of what we're talking about, this is what we'd like to try to do, is not talk about, you know, wishy-washy, kinda fuzzy things. Let's try to be specific. You have to be able to measure them, otherwise you don't know if you reached them, right? Are they achievable? That's a good question on some of them. Doesn't mean you can't put them as goals, but if you know you're not gonna do it, why? For the purposes of making a plan. And are they relevant? And because we did this first, we know that whatever goals we set are gonna be relevant. And you have to put a timeline on them, you know? Is if our goals have a public safety building 100 years, you know, well, okay, that's probably achievable, maybe. But for the purposes of the open space plan, we have to come up with it. All this is gonna drive us to a plan for what we're gonna do for the next 7 years. We have to come up with an action plan. So the goals have to lead us to that plan, and we need to have a time base on it, so that's their definition. So, you know, you can argue about the semantics, but if we stick to that, it will be we'll be able to stay within their ideas. For fun, and attached to what you've got there are some sample goals that other towns came up with on their open space plans that Tim researched. And here are the goals that we had in our 2019 open space plan. 2018 was when it was written, actually. So, you know, if you take a look at, are they SMART goals? Well, some of them are. I put this up here for two reasons. One is to make the point about they need to be specific. They need to be measurable, you know. The other thing I put it up here for is, and you guys can all think about this because you're all people who've been here for a while, you know, have we done all this in the last any of this in the last 7 years, you know? And you can kind of go through in your head, did we achieve any of these goals? Because part of the purpose of making a plan is to try to achieve the goals we set.
Get a pass on the last couple ones. 3 of them were a global pandemic where people were using them, but we weren't necessarily here talking about. So,
That seems like kind of maybe a lot, you know, number wise. But certainly the first one is a good one, remains a good one. And even from my limited recent experience, you know, the first thing when I was coming back here was we contributed $70K to protecting property out there in the east part of Hubbardston.
Yeah.
CPA, right? Funds were used for that.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
75.
Some
Is
of that
enhanced
quite-
quality of life, is that measurable?
No,
No.
that's too
Yeah.
lofty.
And it, yeah.
It's
So-
by doing what?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that's like you could. There are many ways to.
Right.
enhance
We
the
did
quality of
increase,
life.
we did increase recreation
Mm-hmm.
opportunities, you know, both at Curtis Field and out in the conservation areas. Support balanced green development.
Well, Rick's here.
Yeah.
Increased community involvement.
I need to develop some more.
Increased community involvement, we just said that, you know, one of the concepts we took away from this was had to do with community involvement, involvement with the state, et cetera, et cetera. Hard thing to measure, but if you make it part of the plan and say, well, town administrator's gonna contact with all his political connections, so-and-so at the State House, that's part of an action plan. So that's measurable, right? And probably achievable. Protect historic sites, the library, the Purple Door Church, Evangelical Church, sorry. Continue relationship with DCR. I have to, at least in my experience, because we deal with them quite a bit, we have a pretty good relationship with them. We don't always like the rules, but when you talk to them, they listen. They're getting better. They had a change in their honchos a year and a half or so ago, and amazing. Nate, did you read the last open space?
I did not.
Communicate with
Anyway,
them.
so that was just kind of so you could see what we did before. But now we got to come up with an update to the open space plan. And we've got the ideas. We know what we want Hubbardston to look like. So what are the goals going to be?
Well, I liked your analogy earlier on when you were talking about the difference between a goal and an objective, and one way I've explained it to people is that a goal is like your destination if you're traveling, and an objective is the roadmap to get there.
Good one.
So, that's how I'm going to kind of do it, and just maybe as an easy one, not that.
We can have
you know,
100 of them.
proposals, yeah.
We can distill them.
But-
We need the.
But
we need the
increase environmental education or public awareness. And one of the things that I've done in another life, I was in charge of energy conservation as an example. And so periodically, when it was appropriate during the year, I would put out small articles about it. And here on our website, we could have an environmental corner and could say, okay, here's the ephemeral blooms that are happening now. In Ohio, I'm going to steal from other places I've been, but they have a bloom report in the spring. Everybody's getting out. You could have a tick and a comment about the ticks and tick-borne, the vectors that are out there. These are not necessarily for open space, but it's an approach. But I guarantee you, a lot of people are on their phone. They're worried about cell phone service out in the
So-
wildlife management areas.
So Mike, is that specific?
Yes,
You want-
and
is
it's
it Public
measurable.
awareness of what?
Oh, environmental awareness, and that's kind of broad, but we can narrow it down, because that's the goal: increase public
Well-
environmental awareness.
Environmental is one thing, but didn't we also talk about public awareness of just that we have these open
Yeah.
spaces?
Sure,
That there
sure.
are trails.
Right,
Sure.
education.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Just expand on it. And an achievable and measurable action is to have a quarterly, a monthly, a
Yeah.
weekly, environmental corner on our website. You do your, the town administrator thing. Could do something similar for open space.
He's
Not
giving you more work to
him.
do.
Yeah.
No, not him. Us as the community.
What was the one you
She's the
started with
event.
here a minute ago? I don't want to lose that.
Throw me under the bus.
Promotion of
No,
that
Just kidding.
that one.
kind of
I went with promote
volunteering myself.
our
there you go.
recreational and open space areas. That's what I was talking about last there.
Right?
Yeah.
That's part of that, right?
But the problem is, and I've seen it time and time again, the volunteers mean well, but the person that would do that is a conservation agent. So it all comes down to going back to the bandwidth of our community, and that all circles back to tax money and economic development, so you can do more when you have more.
Mike will do it for free.
Yeah.
I was
He
just.
knows every
that's-
inch of this.
Rick, I
Okay,
got
I've done
a
it before.
specific goal.
Yep.
To have some sort of document a short document that, what's the word for it? Sort of promotes or explains what our open space recreational resources are. In other words,
Like some kind of little trifold or something.
yeah, something like that, a white page that would, that somebody that, you know, might be thinking about opening up a mountain bike rental place or a water sports place.
Is that part of public awareness, really?
Well, it's not so much public awareness, it's something that would be used for the people who might do the economic development, which I don't see as the public. I see that as somebody that wants to start a business and they live in
To take
Is
Marlboro.
that like a marketing plan
Yes,
almost?
yes, a
Okay.
marketing, yeah.
To take that one step even further, I think it would be really cool to see a GIS map where you can go and click on each.
That'll be in the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
That's
kinda
required.
already have that, it's maybe.
Oh, you haven't seen nothing yet. Yeah, Tim and Mark have been working on that for several months now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is Mark's specialty. So,
Yeah.
So,
The marketing plan.
yeah,
We're talking about attracting business.
Mm-hmm,
That's a marketing plan, right?
Right.
yes,
So a
Right.
marketing plan towards highlighting the economic opportunities,
yep, there you
That
go.
would be
Well,
available.
the marketing plan can go also go,
ecotourism.
Yep,
all goes to the public too, because the public is not aware.
yeah.
So they're hand in hand, you know,
Well, cause yeah, 'cause
Public.
if the public doesn't know to use these,
right, they
That's
don't know
right.
that they are really, they
And
don't know
then- so they wouldn't be looking to rent said mountain bike for the day for their family, you know, because they don't wanna invest in one of those, you know, fancy bikes, they just wanna rent it for the day, ruin
Right,
somebody else's
right.
stuff, you know? It's like a rental car, you ruin somebody else's stuff for the
Dented
day.
car.
Oops.
Yeah.
I'd love to figure out how disc golf did it, because that went from being nothing to suddenly everybody and their
Everybody's doing
mother
it.
was playing, and I felt like no one was talking about it. You didn't read about it anywhere.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah.
Everybody loved it. And
there's a word of mouth and, you
Yeah.
know,
I do have something else though. We do have it coming in the works. We're working on 2 bylaws. One would go right hand in hand in this, and it's that farm accessory, which is not gonna be called an accessory when we're done, but it's basically you have the right to farm bylaw. We're doing another one on top of that would allow farms to do stuff that would be above and beyond regular right to farm. So like stuff like, think of a corn maze, or to add the brewery, or to add, you know, festivals and things like that, a wedding venue, things like that, which again would drive the ecotourism and the agritourism and zhuzh up the, you know, the surrounding, like say we had a wedding venue. What's gonna pop up, you tiny toes and little bows? Well, there's gonna be a need for more photographers, there's gonna be a need for wedding cakes and, you know, things like that. Giacomo's
Yeah.
might, you know, there might be another bakery that starts up because of that, flowers, you know, all the stuff that goes along with a wedding, you know, let alone if you did other types of events at a farm. So we are working on a bylaw right now. It's in the works. We got some funding again to hopefully finish it up and get it to special town meeting.
Do people get married at farms? Is
Oh,
that a
yes.
destination?
Oh, that is
Up at
such a
Sawyer's
thing.
farm,
Yes.
sure.
I'm getting married on
Oh,
a
yeah.
farm in 3 weeks.
Yep.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that is very
The
much a
work-
thing.
The working title we've been using is supplemental uses.
Yeah.
So
Supplemental uses. There you go. So yeah.
Well, but in general, as a goal, there was a couple of things in here aside from that.
Yeah.
The, you know, bylaws that are supporting
Yeah.
not just economic development, but all of the, you know,
And we
You know,
are
there's-
working on a town center one as well. That's in the work. That's gonna take a little bit longer. We're hoping to get the farm one done for fall town meeting.
There's some farms in Vermont that,
Hopefully.
I don't know if they're still doing it, but, they were working dairy farms, and people from, I guess, New York City would pay
come up and work on
come
it.
up and
Oh, sure.
stay at the farm
Yeah.
and work there for
Yes.
a week.
Oh, Keith and Debbie did that.
That's
Not, they didn't
interesting,
stay
yeah.
at the farm, but yeah, learn how to be a farmer. It's like
Right, 'cause
genius.
it's
You have
so
people
cool.
come pay you
And-
to do your chores.
Right.
It's all over
Yes.
the place. Like
Yeah.
Princeton, my joke with them when I was there was, "Oh, Princeton is where Boston comes to celebrate fall."
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
Hubbardston,
interesting.
Hubbardston used to be a recreation, like vacation town.
Yeah.
That's what we were. There's flyers and everything,
That's when
old
we had a
timey
train
stuff.
station and a.
Yeah,
and a-
Right.
people from Boston came out here to spend their
Worcester
summers and yeah,
And stuff,
all,
just get
yeah,
out of town because it was a hellhole.
yeah.
It was a hot hellhole
And
with
you
coal
come
smoke
here,
blowing on all the stacks because all the industry was there and they
Yeah.
had to get out of town.
and they came here. So why can't we have that again? If we can zhuzh up, let the
Yeah.
farms zhuzh some stuff up, and not to mention, there's a whole bunch of farms that have gone to the wayside that aren't farming anymore. That if you dangle that carrot, like, hey, you know what you could do if you, to somebody
Yeah.
that wanted to be a farmer that doesn't want to work 2 jobs and then still have your farm. They want to farm, but yet do the extra activities at the farm to
Mhm.
bring in the income. They might come here
I mean,
to
look at
buy
Red
a farm
Acre
that
Farm in
is
Phillipston
working.
is a perfect example,
Yeah.
right?
If it's, because there's so many spots that there used to be farms and they're not anymore.
Because that's why we're kind of staying away. I don't know if you noticed, we're staying away from the accessory use word.
Yeah.
Because that would mean you had to be a Schedule F farm.
Yes.
So by saying supplemental use, you can be a small farmer that was doing a small crop or just doing a hobby farm or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's why we stayed away from that word.
Yeah.
What is Schedule F?
From what I'm picking up, I just learned about this a couple weeks ago myself, is it's a license to farm.
It's
Right,
how you-
right.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
file the
like-
taxes and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Can I
Just-
see, can I see your license?
In this town, it's a $25 fee to get a business thing, and then you have to fill out Schedule F, is it's just a form
Oh,
of
okay.
income tax.
Got it.
Yeah.
And it,
Oh,
you
it's
have to have some
taxes.
Got it.
imaginary amount of
Got it.
income, like $500 or something, that
But
says
the whole,
I'm a farm.
the whole
It's-
thing
it's
is,
like
is
But it's not a big deal
Yeah.
either.
If you're chapter 61A, right, that's what you have to have in place, cause you have to prove that you got.
You have to have
income.
5 contiguous acres. You can't like have, 11 chickens in your backyard and call yourself a farm. You have to have
Yes.
5 contiguous acres. But 5 contiguous acres, you could be a vegetable farmer and have quite a good income if you were raising strawberries or something or whatever. You know
Kathy
what I'm saying?
Ansgate.
Yeah, as an example, her fields or in cultivation are not large. It's like
Yeah.
maybe 1 acre in
Yeah.
there,
yeah, and then she has a lot of hay.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
some hay.
And that's the whole thing, but if you were to put, say, a wedding venue next to it, it could drastically trump that and cause problems with the right to farm being an accessory if it's trumping the actual income that you're bringing in from the farm.
Oh, definitely.
So
yeah.
that's why we have to word it just right, so that way,
Yeah.
and there'd be rules in
Supplemental.
place, so it can't go crazy,
Right.
without
Because then
rules.
it could be flip flopped around.
Yes,
So
exactly,
so-
so.
people to come down here and just
Well, the whole
you
fact
know.
is you can't like just, oh, I'm gonna have a wedding venue and you don't have any toilets and you don't have this and you don't have that, like the street goes crazy because there's, traffic everywhere and there's no parking and like, so there has to be some rules in place. That's why you need to do the bylaw correctly to set at least some kind of guidelines without hindering it, without
yeah, it's-
squeezing it to death,
I
but
see.
open up the doors.
And it's tough because I'd be willing to bet both Milkroom and Stone Cow make a heck of a lot more money selling their beer and
Yeah.
their
Oh, yeah.
snacks than they do whatever they were farming before.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
And hosting their
Well,
race.
Yeah.
dairy and
Yeah,
hay.
the same,
Rick-
the same
Rick,
with
I got
like
another goal
Red
for
Apple
you.
Farm and all the,
Mm-hmm.
the Sterling Davis,
Connect
Yeah.
the trails at
Farm
Mount
and
Jeff
corn maze. It's,
with,
yeah,
uh,
still telling you got to a corn maze.
uh,
It's a perfect spot.
It would be a
the,
good spot.
It would be.
the rail trail
coming up on
that's
Girl Scouts fast.
down
Yeah,
near.
no, it's not Girl Scouts,
to
Boy
the
Scouts.
west.
I gotta go
What's
get the boy. and
What's
bring
that
him to
rail
Boy Scouts.
trail?
I don't know what they call it, but we just call it the rail trail. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
so a specific goal would be to connect the Mount Jeff trails with the
Yeah.
rail trail to the west.
Interconnectivity is a
Yeah,
goal
yeah,
across,
major,
across
yeah.
the board.
When you say the rail trail, is that the burn shirt kind
Burn
of the
sh-
way?
yes,
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that old railroad track bed, snowmobile, down there across the
It's
street,
not, it's
Williamsville.
not too much in Hubbardston though, is it?
No, it's like just the corner.
Well, that rail trail's not too much, but if you had an interconnection from Mount Jefferson that went west to that, then you
Sure.
could go south on that
Oh, yeah.
into a lot of DCR open space
Mhm.
in Rutland
And land trust.
and Berry,
And Templeton.
and you can go north
Mhm.
into Templeton, so it's.
Yeah, oh, I know the potential for it, it's just the amount that's actually in Hubbardston is.
Well, that's why
It's not,
that's why the
yeah.
goal is to get, like, Mount Jeff
Yeah.
connected
Oh,
to
I
that.
I
somehow.
understand
Yeah,
the
yeah,
concept,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure that what Tim was saying and that I understood,
that
That-
little
that
little
little
corner,
area,
because that's all we
yes.
got for the rail
Yeah.
trail.
as long as we get there. you
Yeah.
just
That's
have
right.
to make that connection.
That little corner.
So, when we were working on trying to conserve Fieldstone Farm, the lady that lives right next door to Fieldstone Farm,
Parmeter?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she with her, we did a walk with her because she knew the area, and we took a walk and we kept walking and we kept walking. She said, I ride all the way to Mount Wachusett from
Sure.
here. There's some private land. She's got permission to ride on a
Mhm.
little bit of the private land, some of the city of Fitchburg, but that's how close you could come to creating interconnectivity, and that's one of the projects that Chris was talking about.
So once again, there's a little of the Mid-State Trail in
Mhm.
Hubbardston,
Yeah.
not much, well, more than
Yeah.
that rail
Yeah.
trail,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
but it's in another corner, it's down
Yeah.
in that,
Right.
kind of,
Yeah.
but you can get to
Can
places.
would it be possible to have a connection to the Mid-State Trail that goes from the center of town? A side trail links the center of town with the
Oh.
Mid-State Trail.
Mike's got a new mission. Possibly.
Well, you can go,
By
if-
canoe.
yeah, I was just gonna say, by water, the East Branch of the Ware River. You could work your way up from Princeton, all the way up the Ware River to, actually, if it goes through Pinecrest, because they own a section that follows the
Yeah.
river,
Yeah.
and that's in chapter 61. You could come all the way up, and there's maybe a quarter of a mile gap before you can cross New Westminster Road. That's actually our property, to get to the wildlife management area. And there's existing roads. We used to drive them as kids.
Yeah.
They're closed off now, but that's why Chris wants the mountain bike
Mm-hmm.
thing. So yeah, there's a way.
So that could be another goal.
Well,
Yeah.
and,
I think that's a tougher one maybe, but
when we did the walk, remember with
Yeah.
Mark?
Yep.
Mark is interested in fact, attached, contiguous to
Fields.
Henry's Grove and
Oh.
Fieldstone Farm and all
Yeah.
that down there. He said there's some question about whether Pinecrest, they use it, but they don't necessarily own it. So, but what
I have heard of that.
and there's
But
two or three lots back there that nobody knows who owns. So he's researching that, and he wants to. He's thinking of in terms of leverage to negotiate with Watershed
Mhm.
to trade them for a
Mhm.
trail through their little bit of property that would then connect the Mid-State Trail at that
Yes.
area. So, anyway, so we'll interconnecting trails in town
Yeah.
as a major goal, and then as part of the plan, we'll try to spell some of them out. Rail trail, that's actually one of the was mentioned several times in our ideas. What else?
That's almost it for me. I gotta get. So.
Yeah.
I'm about to turn into a pumpkin. I gotta go get the boy for Boy Scouts. I can't think of any off the top of my
You
head.
said 60. You
Yeah.
got 6 minutes.
I still have to go home and get them and then come back.
Oh, I thought you said you had
That
to leave.
requires you to exceed the speed limit.
No, it's just we run on Hubbardston time. Everything's 15 minutes late. So Is there anything else you need from me before I?
No,
switch?
but if you think of any more goals.
Okay, what's up next, so I can think about it on my way? That's it?
That's what we're gonna,
Okay,
the next step really is coming up with how we're gonna do that. That's gonna be more intense conversation, and we weren't gonna have time to do that anyway.
no, there's nobody staying here till midnight.
There's a Board of Health meeting right on our tail
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
At 6:30?
at 7.
Seven, yeah,
That was very good.
yeah.
You know,
What else?
a lot of these specific ideas that were mentioned under passive and active recreation could be objectives underneath the first goal that we have in there about public awareness.
Same with the economic development.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's what I meant about the interconnectivity of interrelation between these, between a lot of these ideas that are somewhat maybe not related. There were a lot of, Sandra was here last time, she'd probably be talking more about it, but.
Yeah, she texted and said, and after we started, that she wasn't gonna make it,
Yeah.
so apologized, in the middle of, after we started.
But the goal on recreation, aside from interconnectivity of trails and that kind of thing, is something we probably should think about having some kind of goal statement for, because that's what we're asking people to come to town for. So what are we gonna do to support that ecotourism in the way of recreation activities?
Some of you have been here a while in town. Does anybody know if there's any restriction on using the town-owned land that's immediately north of the playfields right down here?
The Natty Brook?
No, behind,
No, right behind
Curtis
the,
Field.
no.
Oh, I'm
Just
sorry.
north up 68 where the
No,
hayfields are.
no, next to the northwest of the elementary school.
I don't know
Am I
which,
lost? Isn't the elementary school right there?
it's right there.
Yeah, so
Which-
right,
Then you're lost.
right there.
What's
Yeah.
the name of the street with the house that?
Parson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's off that road.
Natty
No,
Brook?
no, not that far, just, you're looking at it when you come out of the school and look north.
Oh, it's like
There's
literally
woods right there.
Just, it's attached to it?
Yeah,
Nothing that I'm aware of, but as a kid, we were never allowed to play, we could only play in the grass.
Can't play in the-
oh, that was
Yeah.
the teacher's rule, so that.
Well,
Yeah,
that's the school's
Jesus.
rules, yeah, that's the school's rules.
Right.
There's poison ivy, there's ticks.
No kidding.
Get out of
I
there.
know if we get you going, you'll be
Yeah, I
there
know.
for another.
Yeah, I
10
know,
minutes.
well, whatever. Boy probably
What-
already called me.
One of the things that,
Bye. See you, Katie.
you
So,
know,
yeah.
if we're gonna promote a link to the state trout stocking report, just a link on some links that, I have to go figure this out myself. Fortunately, I know how to figure things out, but if people would like post pictures to our town website, like we do for events, broaden our thinking of how
Your phone needs a mobile or Wi-Fi connection.
how we do our, marketing.
Yep.
How much
Yeah.
You know,
bandwidth do we have
Tony
on
was
the
saying,
town website? Do you know?
they don't. Oh, you weren't
Mark
here for the
probably knows,
meeting,
but-
but he's going. They don't
Plenty.
stock the trout.
Like I've
pheasant
been in
anymore.
towns
I'm going
much
bullshit.
larger than this
I
with
got-
much more on their
Yeah,
on
I
their
got a lot
website
of
for the
pheasant
same
this
price
year,
with
and
the
I'm
same
going
company.
trout now.
And so
Not the
we're,
ones
we're
that
not
know,
close.
the brookies.
Well, that could be one of the objectives.
Yeah.
Under that public
The
awareness.
native trout.
That's-
Could be a
that's
couple
what-
So you're right. So people, they don't know what's happening, and it might entice some more participation. I mean, it's in a different. We're in a different world now, where everyone's participation is right here. The virtual world. I can go to Yellowstone tonight. Don't bother me. I gotta go to Yellowstone. Screw that. Going out. It's tough. It's tough. To change your community and to change from this phone, and that's something where it's neither here nor there. It's just messing things up. That's all. Continue.
That's nothing.
No,
I can
no.
ask a robot to write me goals on the open space plans.
That's, I meant to mention
of
that
Hubbardston.
at the
That's
beginning,
weird.
that, what we're actually doing, the Open Space Committee, is because none of us really wants to spend the time writing, we're gonna get the chat bot. and-
Yeah, throw it into AI and
Yeah.
that's-
We're gonna have that write the Open Space Plan.
My head is spinning again.
Yeah.
It's like what?
I'm kidding.
And I know it.
I don't want,
Where's the the next ham and bean supper we can go to? You know, it's a rhetorical question, but
Yeah.
that's what I used to do to go. You know, we'd get together, and
Oh, yeah.
but
Oh,
that
yeah.
shit's all gone now. No one wants to come to ham and bean suppers and be part of the community, and so it's tough.
yeah,
It just makes this more challenging, shall we say? But
that's it. That's a good, I mean,
You know,
we talked about public awareness, but that really is maybe several goals in itself, or a few goals in itself, just,
so the public awareness is going to come through here anyway. That's what it is.
yeah.
One of the things, better or worse.
Anybody else? Goals?
does anybody have, I mean, you don't wanna limit it to a certain number necessarily.
No.
Another one is really good, but, like 4 to 5 kinda seems like the max for me. We seem like we had a few more in the old plan. Have the
Okay.
hard hitting ones and,
And
keep
some
it,
of them are rollover, like protect the open space and green environments, areas in town is always going to be an open space goal.
I think that's the first one.
Yeah.
The carryover from the last plan was excellent. Is number one.
And then maybe we combine the last two from 5 years ago into build on communications with state partners. That's meaning DCR and the legislature and anyone else that we may run into that has a stake in this.
Well, one of the things
Build
for
on the
the,
relationships with
there's
DCR
very little
state.
quote unquote developable land, house lots left in Hubbardston. So in one regard, that kind of sets the an end point for us. We don't have to worry about Rutland, but all of a sudden they,
Why not?
because there's very little land left that will meet a house lot requirement.
I think there's probably several thousand acres.
Several thousand acres.
That's another thousand houses. How
That's
many
not what I
thousands?
heard, that's not what I've heard.
I know, people say
That-
that, but I think they're assuming that the
Okay.
chapter 61 land will always be chapter 61. You go
Oh,
up,
no, that's a good point,
you
yeah.
go up,
No, it's a very good point.
what was it, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the, Ragged Hill Road. Across the street, just south of and across the street from where the Habitat House was built. Big piece of land.
There is a big piece of land.
Forget how many acres it was. Used to be under chapter 61.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
now. It's
No,
all
there's
available for
some
development.
houses going in there.
If
I think there's
someone
10
got
lots.
their hands on all 3 sand pits, that would be just like what Blair did off of right when you're
Yeah.
almost in the center of Rutland.
But you've
And don't
gotta
think they
have
haven't
the
thought of it.
frontage.
Yeah.
You just can't have a lot of property, you've gotta have the frontage too. That's why it limits.
Well, not. How about like Lighthouse Acres there in Westminster, right over the old Westminster, right over the line in Westminster. There's like, I don't know what you call that, but it's a road going in a
A
little
planned
yeah.
unit development, little
16 houses,
subdivision.
something in there,
Yeah,
and
well, the town
It
does
was-
have that.
yeah, we have
but-
those, and I don't know why there's not more of them
Well,
going in. It's expensive, but so
there is a
what?
bylaw or part of the planning rules and
Yeah.
whatnot address that. But when you go to do a little subdivision, you've gotta protect a whole, the equivalent amount of space. You might condense it in one area, but you've gotta protect more
because
with it.
it's not easy, but it's not excessively hard to
It's
change
not.
frontage either.
To what?
To change the frontage requirements. It's
It would be.
doable.
Do we want to?
It would
Yeah,
be pretty hard.
I think-
that's the thing. It
Yeah,
would be
I-
difficult, but it wouldn't be impossible.
It would be
Oh
pretty hard to
no,
vote
it's,
that in,
oh,
though.
it's
These
definitely
days.
possible.
Yeah.
But that's a tall mountain to climb
Yeah,
here in
we're
Hubbardston.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right.
I put these back up. So we were talking about including that one.
Like that's too lofty. That was a soft, like, feel good goal. And
Yeah.
enhance quality of life.
Oh, no, I'm,
yeah.
Yeah, no,
I'm talking,
yeah.
we're,
Yeah.
I
that was
vote
fine.
for number one. Keep
Yeah.
it.
we already talked about this.
Yeah.
Um,
Educate residents is part of our promotion.
yeah,
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
public awareness.
Continue, the bottom two are smushed together and on the new one.
yeah. Yeah,
In protecting historic sites, like, that's a historical commission
Right.
objective. I think
Well,
maybe-
there's a lot,
Protect.
you'd be amazed how many people come to places to see.
Mhm.
Susan does that. I mean, her sister is head of the Lancaster Historical Commission. She's at something tonight that they're putting on. People come to town because they like history and they like
They
to
do.
see where things were done. There's a lot of history in this town.
Absolutely.
There really is, so.
I agree. Talk to Jane McCauley, right?
Yeah?
But it's a small core group. I'm seeing the same faces. Like you say, you see me all over the place.
Oh, yeah, and
We're
I'm just talking
seeing
about
each
our
other.
historical, I'm talking about people from other places coming in.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, there was a guy in the library. He does researches the old highways I wish I could. I should have gotten his information. And he does it. He's done all of Connecticut. So the original. Oh, the toll roads. That's what. Remember, I don't know if you know about the history of the toll roads
I do not.
and whatnot. This guy talked for like an hour to us there, but he came up here because some of them are gone that would have crossed the Quabbin, area and whatnot, because now you
Wow.
can't go across it. And there's somebody else that does the railroads, the old railroads.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a Rabbit Run? Is that one of the railroads?
No, I went down through Williamsville.
Anyhow. So yes, I did meet people that were coming from quite a ways away to
Well,
look at historical things out here. Yes.
Were you at our last OSC meeting? I don't remember.
No, I
So-
slept through it.
So Susan is working with Pam, what's her last name? Lives on Comet Pond. We went to Phillipston to learn about
Oh,
the Mishoons.
Yeah,
The-
the dugouts.
Mishoons.
Dugout canoes.
Dugout
Yeah.
canoes that were used by the
Native
It
American.
was a presentation by Nipmuc, one of
Oh.
the ladies on the tribal council, put on a presentation. They've discovered actually back in 2001, they discovered a couple of these dugouts that the Nipmucs and other tribes in this area used to use to transport freight, etc., from place to place on the primarily ponds more so
Mm-hmm.
than the rivers, but and how they used to make them, et cetera, et cetera. Well, Phillipson had one, and they discovered one, and it's hanging on there. What's left of it is hanging on the wall in their museum there. But so in 2001, there was two that were discovered in the bottom of Quinsigamon, and they've been working with the state. It's been designated by the state an archaeological site that, so within a certain area around it, it can't be disturbed.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking into how they can preserve them, because they've been laying there for 300 to 400 years.
Leave them
possibly.
be, and they're preserved.
That's true.
I mean, that's one of the ways. Yeah.
So they're still there, and they've been working with
Mm-hmm.
UMass, with Texas Tech, with the state, etc. So in the process, we learned that there was one in Comet Pond, and it was taken out and donated by the people who owned the property that it was near. It's in the Worcester Historical Museum. And so she and Pam, who lives on, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name,
Mm-hmm.
who lives on Comet Pond there, and is from an old town family. You might know who it is.
I don't know her last name.
She's in the historical committee.
Yeah. I don't know her name. I mean, I don't.
Anyway, so they're hot to trot on.
It's a new member
On-
kind of thing.
Yeah, and getting information on.
They're gonna give it to us and we're gonna put it up in the library.
Well,
They're gonna repatriate it to Hubbardston.
you can talk to Susan. I'm staying out of it.
Yeah. No, that's interesting.
Yeah. So there is a lot of history in town.
Mhm.
All right. Can I entertain a motion to
So
adjourn?
moved.
Second.
Second,
All in favor?
Beach.
Aye.
Aye.
to adjourn. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good.